Joined by my favorite co-host, Apostacie. Our special guest today is the author of The Way of Kialo, a fictional analysis of delusion, John Chritian. Welcome to the show. Let's start the show. Welcome back, everybody. I forgot what show was on there.
It's all good.
Thanks for joining me again, Apostacie. Always good to see you. John Chritian today. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me on.
So I heard you wrote a book with an interesting title there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the book?
Well, it's called The Way to Kialo, and in this case, the way is an actual path, and Kialo is reason in Esperanto. For those of us who can remember back in the 70s, there was a language they tried to push on all of us that we're all going to speak in the future called Esperanto. I did use translations of words throughout the book. The things mean one thing, they're allegorical. So basically, it's the way to reason. And I deconstructed when I was 57, though I deconverted from Christianity when I was 46. So for those 11 years, I was on a strange journey that finally got me to say that I am an atheist. I don't believe in God. And right after that, I thought, maybe I should write a book about my journey. I used to be a mountain climber. I thought of writing a book about my mountain climbing expeditions and all that sort of thing. I thought about this for maybe about 10 minutes, and I thought, writing a book about me and my journey, I don't know about that. So I decided to do a fictional version of it. But I started in 2020, and we all remember what that year was like. And I was also paying attention to the news and various things that were happening around the world. And I started seeing things around me, and the story morphed from just a book about a certain individual called Axel, who deconstructs or deconverts in the religion of his place, where this is a fictional land. It's not the world, it's another world, much smaller world. And these are theocracies. And so it's dangerous for him to deconstruct. He's going to be thrown in prison. His parents have disowned him. He's in a bad way. But now he fell from grace because he was so high up. He was second in command. There was the high priest, and then there was him. He was an advocate for the defense of the faith. In other words, he was an apologist, a very brilliant person, a good orator, but he deconverted, and it cost him dearly. And they're coming to get him. They're going to lock him up. And he meets someone, an older gentleman. He's 68 years old. Axel at this point is 36. His name is Barnabas, and Barnabas can see that he's despondent, and he tells him about this place called Kialo, where reason prevails, but he has to take this path called the way to get there. Long story short, he goes through many places, and he leaves alone. He jumps over the wall the following day. He follows the path. He has to stay on the path, and sometimes he veers off, and he has a lot of things happening to him. But 4 people end up walking through the gates of Kialo, because along the way, he finds one person and then 4. And all these people, I realized, represent me in a sort of strange way. Very different personalities, all a little bit of me in those 4 people. Yeah. That's basically it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. I know Apostacie's already added your book to her list there. That sounds awesome,
Amazon
man.
cart. Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. And it turned out to be a trilogy because it wasn't intended to be that. It was just going to be the story of a deconversion in a fictional sense, and exposing the delusion of religions, not just Christianity, though he comes from Wittendream, which means delusion in German. And that represents evangelical Christianity in South Umbria, which is Protestant, and North Umbria is Catholic, and so forth and so forth. And he goes through various places, like, say, Baranak. Baranak represents Islam. I've even put Scientologists in there. There's a place goes through a place called Clarkman. The Clarkvanians are very strange people. And what I did in each case, where I mean, I'm pretty good at understanding the basic religions and comparative religions. I did a bit of study of that throughout the course of my life, but I did have to go and do some research, like what really do Scientologists believe in? What really do
Yeah.
the Sikhs believe in? And then I would write the dialogue of them speaking in the way to defend that kind of belief,
Mm-hmm.
to expose it. And then there's these arguments between Axel or the people that he meets up with and these other people. And sometimes it's very combative.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very clever way to approach that. Where does this idea come from?
Truly? Well, okay, I'll tell you. I
I
don't
mean,
think. Yes, no one's asked me that question, but I will be honest with you, and
Really?
I'll tell you. No, not really. It came from inside my brain. Of course, I
Clearly.
just, made it
Yeah.
all up.
Wait,
But,
Jesus didn't give you this in a dream or
no,
a vision? Oh,
yeah.
weird.
No
Okay,
divine
I'll admit
inspiration?
what I did was one of my favorite books, where I thought it was, when I was evangelical Christian, was Pilgrim's Progress.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
You remember that one?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you know anything about it? Like the he's in a city, it's chaos, there's sin everywhere,
Uh-huh.
and he can't stand it. And then and they had his name was Pilgrim, and then there's a guy called Evangelist, and he tells them about the land, of course, heaven, being with Jesus. And so this is in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
This is I just said,
Wow.
what if I tell the story in reverse? So he's already in this super religious theocratic place that you got to really be that, or else you're going to be punished and tortured.
Great.
And he's working towards reason, which is not sinful at all. It's
No.
just the right way to be.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very
Cleaned
clever.
up.
Very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So in your comparative religion throughout your life, is that kind of what led you to your own deconversion or deconstruction?
My deconversion was strictly Christianity.
Yes,
And,
but learning about the other religions.
And well, you see, I became a Christian when I was 22.
Okay.
I was not born into a Christian family. In fact, I was
Wow.
born into like an agnostic family though they call themselves Catholic, because we're Hungarians. My parents are Hungarian refugees, and I came out with them. So escaped in 56. I was born in 57. And well, anyway, so we're Catholic. My parents have passed away, and that doesn't really make sense that they weren't religious, because you would expect Catholic people to be religious, but they certainly were not. They were actually kind of damaged people. My parents, when I think about it, we always had a good relationship. It's not that they weren't happy with me becoming an evangelical Christian. They weren't happy with that. They tolerated it, but they wished I wasn't. And both my parents passed away before I became fully deconstructed.
Wow.
Yeah. So they never really knew me as an atheist.
Huh. So was it the comparative religion that helped you along that path?
I would say so. It certainly helped, but what helped best was diving deep into the Bible and having enough of the bullshit that, I don't know if I can say that word on this show, but
I'm okay with it.
Right.
yeah, it's just like I was in the wrong place. I was previously married, and as a result of, I think as a result of the religion, I'm not sure. I just think incompatibility. But we were married 21 years, and it came to a really crashing in at the end. So it was really ugly at the end. You see, we went to a Pentecostal church.
Oh,
We went to a Pentecostal church, and when I first became a Christian at 22, I did it by watching televangelists on TV.
Okay.
I was lonely, and I've always felt alone. We came here as refugees. I was the only child up to a certain point. My sister was left behind in Hungary. I met her when I was 9, and she was 13.
wow.
And so we were the funny immigrant family. And yeah, I got Christian's my middle name. That's a real name. Yeah, it's my real name. My last name's Hungarian. No one can pronounce it. So as a musician, I just went with John Christian. John's my real name. It's not spelled that way, but it's still John. And so I was always alone. And I moved to Toronto, and I guess I was just lonely. And for some reason, I've been trying to figure this out, because I was thinking of indoctrination. All these deconversion stories where people are born into Christian families, and I can understand how that you don't have a choice because you're a child, right? You're dragged along for the ride. I didn't have to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I believed in God. And that was something that stuck with me until I was 57. And even then, I mean, it was sort of sketchy until finally I had enough. And no, I don't believe in God.
What was it that convinced you originally? You said you were lonely. Was that what it was? You just needed I mean, because I compare it to an invisible friend.
You mean, yeah, to me, become a Christian, not just believing in God, because believing in God is like a deist thing. Well, first of all, I live in a country just like yours where that's the predominant religion, that's what's on TV and
everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. It was so friendly and it just seemed okay. Now, when I did it at age 22, I'll tell you, at age 22, it wasn't very friendly at all.
Yeah.
I had long hair. I drove a motorcycle, black leather jacket, Doc Martens up to my knees, walking to church thinking, where's the Jesus freaks I've heard of? And they
I look just like him.
And they just weren't there, and they all moved away from me on the bench there, And so I did. It didn't last. It didn't last at all. And then I met somebody, not my wife, but somebody else, and she was lovely and wonderful, and she didn't believe in God, and I'm just stuck with her because that was more real. Yeah. But then I did, and then that relationship didn't work out, and later on I did meet the woman that I married, and this is a kind of an important part that any other kind of deconstruction story that I've told before online here, this has been omitted because you kind of need to know these little bits, right? So when we met each other, I was playing lead guitar in a band, and she came up afterwards and like your band and all that kind of stuff, and nothing happened. And there was this party I was invited to. She was having the party, and then we got along really well. I just stayed at the party. Everybody left, and now we're sitting around, and I'm rolling a joint, and she's pouring some wine, and I think to myself, well, my last girlfriend, she was an atheist, and she didn't like the fact that I was a Christian and believed in God, and it didn't work out. So I kind of like her. She needs to know about me, right? So I got to tell you something about me. I got to tell you. Yeah, you need to know that I'm a born again Christian. And she looks at me and pours the wine and says, "So am I." So then we share stories.
Made in heaven.
Yeah. So we're telling stories about, how we tried it out, but there were all these people in church stuck up. They didn't like us. So we're just Christians without going to church. That's the kind of Christians we are. And so then we went through this whole thing. We were in our 20s, and one thing led to another. We got married, and then I left film. I was working in film at the time, and I said, I need to take a break from that. My wife was willing to work and support me and with my music. So then I got into bands. I started playing. And then she ended up being the vocalist in one of the bands I was in, and that got really kind of popular. We're doing quite good, but eventually our son was born, and I'm getting tired. I'm like 33 years old, and I just had enough. And I just said, I'd like to just stop. And she goes, yeah, I see a point. Sure, okay. And we led a crazy life. I mean, all the stuff that you think happens with bands and that kind of lifestyle, we did it. And
while going to church on Sunday?
No church. No church.
Oh, no church. Okay.
No, we had completely. Okay. We're not even looking at the Bible anymore.
Oh,
we're just, we're just getting high and just playing and going touring. Okay. We toured the States a couple of times, and we were doing pretty good,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we kind of forgot all about that.
Okay.
So my son was 4 years old, and I suggested to my wife, she says, "I'm tired of this. What about you?" And she was 4 years older than me, so I'm 33 already. And I said, I can go back to editing, I can make good money there. I said, in fact, I made a phone call, and there's a film I can get on right now. And it's like pays really well. So I did that, quit the band, supported the family, money started coming in, phone stopped ringing, no more interest. All that stuff that made life exciting was just gone. And now I'm wearing plaid shirts and corduroy pants. And yeah. Really boring. All our friends were like the people we went to booze cans with and all kinds of stuff, And so I guess we just looked at each other one day and said, maybe we should like go to church. What do you think?
Oh,
What do you think?
Mm.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. And so we started going to church. It was a Baptist church. We chose the wrong church, I guess, because there was like hardly anybody there. They didn't have a children's service.
Oh,
Like we walk in with a 6-year-old.
yeah. Where's that free
And
daycare?
yeah, and and there's no, and they say, and all these old people, like, like my age or like now, or maybe in their 50s, going, look, a child, all 27 people, in the church, right? So we went there for a few months, and I was on shift work at the time, and so my wife said to me, we're camping that summer, so I missed. And this is kind of important too, if you're interested in the finer details.
Yeah.
We missed
Of
June,
course.
and remember what I said. We missed June. This was a dying church. They didn't have a pastor. It was like anybody can go up and just say whatever they want.
Wow.
It was weird.
That would have been fun. Wish I was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I thought, okay, I don't mind. It's just kind of like chaotic and fun, But my wife convinced me, we were camping that summer, that we need to find a better church. I mean, our son, he's like, that's the church, that's the child's, that's the Sunday school. It's him, And I go, yeah, I
He's his own
guess,
teacher.
yeah, I guess you make a good point. Why? What do you have in mind? She says, I found another church. It's a much better church. It's a lively church. And she looks at me, and I knew nothing about denominations.
Mm.
I knew Protestant, Catholic, and now I know Baptist. I thought that's what Baptist church are, totally chaotic. She goes, it's a Pentecostal church. I'm going, what is that? Well, they're livelier. Okay, and they have a good they have a good children's service, or whatever you call it. Children's program. Ministry, children's ministry. Okay, let's try it out. Now, it turns out that it wasn't such a bad church. And I'll give you one example of what made it not so bad. Okay. So I'm on the worship team because I'm a musician. I just get involved.
Right.
That's what I do. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm playing guitar. I'm already on the worship team right away, almost. Right.
They recruited you instantly.
Yeah. Like
they would do.
I've always been
You're the leader.
charismatic.
Yeah.
No problem.
Exactly.
I became a leader later on in a different church. But this was a downtown Toronto church. And I used to say that like 1/3 of the congregation has nose rings, just so you know.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It was a really hip
Yeah.
church.
Yeah.
And also, I'm on the worship team, and we're playing that soft stuff where people are supposed to go into like prayer and, this stuff,
Cry and
And all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I hear someone barking out some sort of blah, blah, blah out loud talk. And it's tongues.
Yeah.
I never heard of tongues. Didn't know what it was.
That's awesome.
Why is this person yelling in a foreign language? I don't understand. So the pastor goes up to the mic, and this is to show you what kind of strange Pentecostal church this was. He rebukes the woman.
Wow.
Oh.
And he
Never
says,
seen that one.
we don't do that here. So that was my first introduction to, okay. I don't know what that was, but I'm glad he shut her up, because that was like totally interfering with the music.
It's killing my buzz over here. Holy cow.
Weird,
oh my
eh?
Gosh.
Yeah.
That is
very
weird. I thought you were
did-
going to say he was going to interpret
Exactly.
the tongues.
Yeah.
No,
That's where I thought.
Later
going.
on, when I had a chance, I'm curious. I have questions. So, what was that about? I asked the pastor, and he explains to me that it's tongues. Some people, we're not against it, he says, but you got to do it quietly, because Jesus said, go into your prayer closet, and that's where you should do your praying.
Wow.
Weird. Yeah, I told you.
So they were like a conservative Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep your crazy to yourself.
Wow.
That's right. That's right.
Wow,
None of this
okay.
stuff.
Interesting.
So then
Did they-
we move out to the suburbs, because
Just-
I bought
I'm curious about that church though. Did they lay hands on people? Did like people like
Yeah.
convulse and
Oh, they touched you.
Yeah.
If you the altar call.
Mhm.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
the thing
then
at
you
church? They
would-
love touching people.
they put their hands on them. But because I went to another Pentecostal church, the one I'm about to tell you,
Okay.
I can look back on that one and go, wow, these are not the same Pentecostal church.
No. Okay. Okay.
They're
No.
still part of the PAOC, Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada,
Canada. Yeah.
but
wow.
nothing alike.
Two completely different.
Nothing
Yeah. Okay.
alike.
Okay.
Well, I bought a house. And the house I couldn't afford in Toronto. It was in the suburbs, far away from this church. Oh, by the way, the name of that church, I have nothing against. that church, this downtown church, still plays and sings one of the hymns that I wrote.
Oh,
I write music, and I don't.
I
Have
need
the
to know
heart.
this church. I'm gonna talk to the pastor. And have
I
him
don't
watch.
have the heart. My old worship team leader, he's a great guy. I don't. I when I was writing my second book, because Way to Kialo is my third book, is when I entered fiction. I did a couple of nonfiction books.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so I needed to have, what was that hymn that I wrote? I knew I wrote a hymn, so I contacted him, and he sent me the manuscript for it and everything. So it's in my book. So there it is.
Nice.
I wrote the hymn, and he says, we still sing it. I'm talking with him on the phone, going, that's good. That's good.
Did they credit you for it though?
I can't tell him. Well, I'm an atheist now. Maybe you want to stop.
Oh my gosh, they probably would stop too.
No,
Yeah.
they'd probably sing it more. Even
Oh
more.
yeah, and then
This
pray
used to
for
be-
you after.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
it is. There it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to know the name of this church? Because
Yes.
Yeah.
there's always a punchline to everything I say.
Oh God.
Yes.
What is it?
The Stone Church.
No.
And the people who go there, they call themselves
Stoners.
No. Yes. I kid you not.
Wow. Take it back for the Lord. There it is.
Yeah.
They love doing that shit.
I'm not making any of this
Oh
up.
my
So
God, I believe you.
we changed membership because we were members and everything, and with the envelopes and the whole bit. I'm taking all that money, lots and lots of money. I was making good money, but they were, relative to how
taking a
much
lot
I
of
make,
it.
they take a nice portion of
That's where the money's at. Starting a religion, man.
Mhm.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, I can use that right now. I can tell you.
I think we all could a little bit there.
So
Great.
out in the suburbs, we went to a different church, and I won't name that church because, I don't have anything bad to say about the Stone Church, and they're kind of funny people. It was interesting,
Mhm.
Very, very funny.
And but the other one in the suburbs was terrible. I mean, they did everything that you could imagine, and then there was these weird things happening within the church, personal things. Now, one thing I want to set straight is, I made this a point too, and I was very upset almost right from the beginning. And I can tell you stories which I'm not going to about who did what and what happened. It was kind of really disgusting in some cases. Unethical, just not with my level of morality.
Right.
And but I made a point that those weren't going to be the reasons why I'm going to leave. In fact, I wasn't even thinking like, okay, I just figured, look, I've been down in the gutter with the in the music scene. There's screwed up people all over the place. It's not going to make me stop being a musician. It's not going to make me stop being a Christian because these people are acting stupid. But eventually, all the criticism against me and what I wasn't doing right. First of all, they were not happy with the fact that I would not receive the second blessing. Never heard of such a thing. Okay. Are you familiar with the second blessing?
No, I'm very curious. What's the second blessing?
Okay.
I just think of like this like being like speaking in tongues.
That's it.
Oh.
Speaking in tongues is the evidence of the indwelling of the Holy Spirit, says the
like
Pentecostal
second
belief.
baptism or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The upper
Based
room and all
on
that
Acts
shit.
chapter 2, verse 47.
Yeah.
And they completely misinterpreted. That was my first thing. Now remember that. Oh yeah, going back, just a step back to Stone Church, just a step back.
Have you written
I
an
told-
autobiography yet?
Well, yeah, in a way I did. It's called Subversive.
Okay, good. Because it needs to be written down. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is the
Get
book
that one as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's
Is that on Amazon? Can we just add that?
yeah. Somebody once called me a subversive, and I figured I don't
Well, that's
think
a good name.
I'm not a subversive. What are you talking about? And then I thought, well, maybe I am. Okay, in a sort of a poetic sense. I don't do any violence. If that's what you're referring to. Subversive. I have subversive.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So remember, I told you I missed June.
Yes.
In the First Baptist Church because they were so disorganized, but then when I went to the First Pentecostal Church, came June or like May or something like that, announcement from the pulpit. Those interested in protesting the Pride weekend. I think back then it was only a weekend. It was only just for a Saturday and Sunday. It wasn't like a month or anything. Interested in protesting that, go speak to so and so, and they'll give you the placards that you're going to hell and all kinds of stuff like that. And I was like,
Wonderful, encouraging messages.
Aw.
What the hell?
Christian
Hey,
encouragement.
my ex-wife, myself, and several people we had a band, but it was also an ensemble. Sometimes it was like 10 people, sometimes it was 5 people, the people changing around, and some of them were gay, and actually the gay community really got to like our band, and they stood behind it, and they filled the places where we played, and they asked us if we could be in the parade, and I said sure. I had a pickup truck, we decked it all out, and we paraded in the gay pride parade. That's what we did. We did that, you know.
So you're not going to go and
for
no.
sure. And
Yeah.
here going protesting that thing,
I'm not going to protest.
and
yourself.
that's when I started noticing that my ex-wife was beginning to think the way, like, yeah, well, you know, it's a sin. You know, where does it say that? Because I didn't read my Bible. I didn't read my Bible. I was kind of like, oh, this is the sermon. Oh, it's this little verse here, this little verse there. And when I started reading my Bible in the next church, but I didn't agree with that whole gay is bad thing, and that was like first red flag. That was my first red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then out in the suburbs, it just got worse and worse and worse. Mm-hmm. And it forced me to want to become a Christian apologist. Oh, no. And write books and straighten everybody out about this whole Christianity thing, because you're all doing it wrong.
Typically, that's what I hear.
So I decided to enroll in seminary at Tyndale University in Toronto. Now, I knew I wasn't going to finish it because I had a good career making good money, but it said that I can do the first year online and most of the second year online as well. So as much as I could do online, I did. And then I bought books, and I read and studied, and I decided to read the Bible from beginning to end. I bought commentaries. I bought everything associated with telling me, like a lexicon that translates Hebrew into, like, I can check the words. What do they really mean by this? And Genesis blew my mind. How screwed up that is.
Totally.
Oh,
if you can make it past Genesis and still be a Christian, I don't know how you do it.
No, I was losing it. I really was. And then we
like
were having
10 chapters in, you're done. I mean, it's like this is ludicrous.
Yeah.
And my ex-wife is like, no turning back, no turning back. Remember that song? And all that.
Yes.
Yes,
turning back.
There can be turning back. You know, what
turns out.
This doesn't seem right. Yeah. But I still believe in God. Because, you know, look at the trees, right?
Right. I love that one. That's my favorite.
I never did that. I did the look at the squirrels.
Great.
A little trees, just with squirrels run around. You can, and they run up trees. So yeah.
And they're smarter than trees.
Yeah. I did actually say, look at the squirrels. Yeah, I did that.
Oh man.
And eventually, through a lot of torture and a lot of joining men's groups and trying to become a better Christian husband and all that kind of stuff. In addition to some serious marital problems apart from religion, the whole thing together just collided and fell apart. And on April 23rd, 2003, at 7:15 p.m., I walked out of that church. It was a Wednesday. And the pastor and his wife had a meeting, one of many meetings with my wife and I. And I finally, from some of the things that they said there, one of the things he said to me just before I decided Christianity is not for me. He said, John, you know what your problem is? Your God is with a lowercase g. My God is with a capital G. And I asked him, how many gods do you think there are? And I walked out, and that was the end of Christianity. And then I tortured myself for years with being a deist.
So how did you finally lose the deism?
Yeah.
I probably lost it when I went back to church in 2012. 2015. In 2015, May of 2015. The day is in the book. I can't remember that particular day. But in 2012, and I'm already married to the woman I'm with now, who does not believe in God or any of that, but won't call herself an atheist, and I won't talk about her because this is about me. But she's tolerant of my crazy behavior. And I say to her, just for social reasons, because I don't believe in Jesus or any of that stuff. But because I'd like to meet some people, and I just honestly, we moved around so many times. Both of us are kind of like loners in a sense. And this happens, when your life gets disrupted and you're not really from the place where you are. Anyway.
Yeah. No.
So I said, I think I'm going to go into church. Now we're living on this busy street. Literally, there's a big Baptist church over there. And I don't know, back to Baptist for some reason. And then there's a smaller Baptist, much, much smaller down there. And I said, I think I want to try out the big one. Maybe I get lost in the crowd, which I did. And I went for a few times, and I'm not getting anything out of this. What's the point? I'm not believing what's being told. The music's pretty good, though. I can sing along with it. I like singing, Yeah. None of this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Just singing along, going, I know that song. Cool song. But it didn't work for me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Happy
Sure.
clap.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then you want money. Oh, geez. Oh, here's $5. Go.
They're always broke.
Yeah.
They're always broke.
You're not getting my 10% because I need that several $100s.
Yeah.
Rents are expensive.
Times are tough, man.
Yeah.
So then I said to my wife, that's not working out. I think I should try the little one, maybe that way I can make some friends. What kind of friends was I hoping to make?
Right.
What the hell's wrong with me?
Cornhole friends.
So I go down there, and sure enough, it's like 12 people, and they're all like really passionate, and they're friendly. Well, I guess so. Went a few times, and the pastor and his wife would just stand by the door and greet or say goodbye to everybody as you go out. Is that kind of place? And so I'm leaving. Maybe 6 times I went there, and he pulls me aside, says, "Come.
You want to play the drums?"
He says, "Oh no, there was no band. Oh no, it was an old lady playing an organ."
Oh wow.
Oh,
That's it. That's it. That's all it was. And badly too. Oh, and it was a cheap organ. Really
bad
cheap.
memories for me.
Yeah, it was bad. I didn't let them know I'm a musician, because then I would have to play and
you would have to play for sure.
Do the whole thing over to get rid of your organ. Anyway, so he pulls me aside and he says, we have been observing you. Who's we? And I'm thinking,
Creepy.
Yes, the board. Well, there's like 13 people in the church. I'm like, what board? Okay, so
are all 13 on the board?
Yeah.
Why? We think you are ready for membership.
Oh God.
Well, okay. I'm not confrontational really. Say, well, I guess we'll see about that. And besides, he says he's going back to put more hands, and like all the people are slow. So anyway, I got a book for you. I'll bring it in next week. I think you'll be very interested in it. Well, what's it about? It's about the. It's because he saw me that I'm a sort of outspoken, not outspoken, but like I talk like this, like I'm an interesting character, and I have questions, always questions, lots of questions. And because what's the book about? About the age of the Earth. Okay, all right. Now, I've met 2 young Earth theorists previous in my life. That is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard.
Up there.
Absolutely, hands down, the dumbest shit I ever heard. And even when I was a real Christian, I thought, what's the point? I mean, you're not asked to believe that. There's nothing that says believe that or you're going to hell, right? You're just making shit up. And yes, I know that people have thought that for centuries before we ever had science that tells us otherwise. Because I've never been that way. I've never gone down that road. I don't think I was a very good Christian.
Well, clearly you're not anymore. So
whose standards, though? I mean,
yeah, exactly. So I say, you're not saying that the planet is 10,000 years old, are you? Because that's the last person I talked to believed the planet was 10,000 years old. I didn't know enough about young Earth theory, except that's the last person I talked to. He goes, no, of course not. No. We believe it's 6,000 years old.
Even younger.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, do these 2 factions fight with each other? I mean, so that's when I looked at him, walked out. drove home, stormed through the front door, slammed it. My wife is going, "What? What's the problem?" I was so pissed off at myself. What is wrong with me? And that was my second, you know how you rededicate yourself as a Christian.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
sort of rededicated myself as a non-Christian.
Such a terrible story there. Ugh.
Fuck you. Yeah.
Don't you just like kick yourself during that rededication? Like right now, I'm just thinking about it. I'm just kicking myself. It's like, why would I even do that? I knew I shouldn't. Yeah.
Were you doing it more for community?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it wasn't for
I
your
really missed
personal convictions. It was for that.
My son, and I can't really talk for him, but he no longer is a Christian.
Okay,
I think he may be a deist. I don't know.
Okay.
He's 37, so he's got his life, and he's very successful. He's a very happy person. And I know he definitely is not a Christian anymore. He was showing me on his phone. He was visiting from Victoria just last month. On his phone, he's showing me all kinds of TikTok funny atheist things, because he's his TikTok. So, yeah, he's not a Christian.
Was Apostacie on there? Because I know she's on TikTok.
I am.
Some guy who he's a comedian, and they auto tune his voice, and he says interesting.
Oh, he's kind of older and he tells stories. I like him. I don't know his name. I forget. But he's good.
So that's what he showed me.
I don't watch TikTok. Sorry, Stacey.
Oh, you should. It's fine. Well, you get sucked
just,
in, but
it forces me to play things I don't want to play. Just let me scroll. I don't know. I guess
it's all good.
Now, how I finally called myself an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Remember that band that I told you that my wife was in, and she did the vocals and all that way back when? But we never really got a chance to do any good recordings. We did an EP.
Right? That's what it was.
Pardon?
Metallica, right? That was the band.
Yeah. It was called Veroshi Fame, and it got some popularity. So anyway, we never did a good recording, except we did a four-song EP vinyl, and it was okay. But I have all this gear. I've got a studio. I can really make things sound good now, technology and all. And I thought, what if I redo some of those older songs, but do them well? I'll do the singing, and I'll add keyboards and guitars and stuff like that weren't in the original recording, and I started doing that, and hey, this is sounding pretty good. And the time came for me to do my vocals, or at least my temporary vocals, just to have vocals there to guide me. And I have my sheet music in front of me with the lyrics, and this is stuff I wrote in that time period when we were living that crazy life, right? You don't need to live a crazy life just because you don't believe. But songs like "A God or a Beast," I was really attacking the institution of religion. Amongst other things, I was a bit of an anarchist too. This was kind of a punky kind of thing. It was sort of punky, almost. A little bit more intelligent.
Not quite Punky Brewster, but in between there.
Industrial. It was industrial punk, sort of a quasi-intellectual existential music. Anyway, so
there it is.
Yeah, we played in art galleries and shit like that.
Love it. Love it.
So all those videos are on my YouTube channel, my own personal one. You can check them out. They're pretty.
Check it out. And Wes, if we get that on the board,
and then you can see my my ex-wife. She's vocalizing or whatever you call it. So I'm doing this, and I'm reading these lyrics. I'm singing them, and I'm reading the words that I wrote when I was, 28, 27. And I'm realizing that I knew all along who I was.
Wow.
It really hit me hard going, I'm an atheist. Judging by these words.
Yeah.
I knew back then better who I was than all that shit that I had to go through to find this out. And I'm 57 years old.
Fucking nuts, man. Yeah.
There's those lyrics, my own words, the young version of me talking to me through my own words.
Wow.
And I can't tell you how strange that feels.
Well, it sounds pretty strange, but awesome at the same time. What a thing to go through.
Yeah. That's when I became an atheist.
Awesome. So how did the world accept it?
I was working on a show called Say Yes to the Dress. You may have heard of it.
Oh, you were?
Yes, I'm an editor.
That's a real show?
Yeah.
You've never Of course, it's a real show.
Yeah.
Say yes to the dress.
22 seasons. Yes.
I used to watch that show all the time.
Yeah. So I was one of the editors. So I'm
Oh,
working on that. My assistant editor, I knew he was. He called himself an atheist Jew. First time I ever met anyone who'd said that of themselves.
Interesting.
And so I said, I'm going to tell my assistant I'm an atheist. Because who else
was
am I
your
going to
heart
tell?
like pounding, or
My parents are dead. I would have told them. My sister, who's a Mormon, she doesn't think it's a good idea for me to be an atheist.
oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, she thinks it's bad. It's a bad
Of
thing.
Of course she would.
Yeah. So I tell my assistant editor, I'm an atheist. And he goes, welcome to the club. And he walks up.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
Not even a high
worked in-
five or anything.
I worked in filmed. I worked in television. I worked in music. Everywhere I worked, right out of college, which I took fine arts in college,
Yeah.
I'm majoring in drama. Everything I did was liberal.
Yeah.
It's when I became a Christian. I was working at Network at the time, the television network here in Canada, CTV. I was working there. And I remember when I went to work one day, the day after I rededicated my life to the Lord, and I'm 34 years old at this point.
Such a gross word.
I know.
And I'm telling people that, I'm close to there. And they're like, oh, why are you doing that? Like, are you sure you want to do that? And one of the editors is an atheist, and all he ever did was pick on me all the time and argue with me. And I wasn't equipped to argue like why I'm following Jesus. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to become an apologist, so I can argue back.
Yeah.
Right.
Be a good apologist, give a reason for my belief or whatever.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the big reasons is diving in and actually learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see how this is different than most stories. And I really feel for the people who are born into it and have no choice. I was born into something
That's
too.
us.
I didn't have a choice. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great story, man. I'm glad you got out of it
know.
and finally escaped. Sorry it took you so long.
yeah.
tough.
And the way to Kialo is a journey. It's a journey. And like I said, I did climb mountains
is.
in the Adirondacks. For between age 15 and 46, I climbed at least 42 mountains in that time.
For those of us who are geographically inept, where is that at?
Northern New York State, near Lake Placid.
Oh, there it is. It's in the United
it's-
States.
Yeah. So I did all my climbing there, and I would go in for the longest I was ever in was 13 days, but generally 6 or 7 days. Yeah.
Wow.
And when you read The Way to Kialo or any of the 3 Kialo books, there's a lot of hiking and walking around and mountains and trails, and I speak from experience.
Right.
When I describe those kind of journeys as well.
So what are you working on now, John?
I am working on finishing the 3rd book, which is called The Kialo Expansion. The 2nd book is called The Barnabas Trail. And the Kialo Expansion should be ready by December. But what I'm really working on right now is starting my own YouTube channel, which is not an atheist YouTube show. I've tried that twice before, and I find that other people do that much better than me. And I'm more of an entertainer than someone who's going to delve into the kalam or any of that. I like watching those kind of things, but I'm not so well versed in it. And I'm sort of done with that kind of intellectualizing as well. What I want to do, and the show is going to be called So Tell Me About Your Book. And it is geared towards self-published authors like myself who find it difficult to find a platform to promote their book. It came out of my need to find something on YouTube where I could talk to somebody and talk to them about my book, but there's no such thing. There's no such thing. There's audio podcasts where people get interviewed about their books. That does exist. There's no video podcast for that.
Wow.
That I can find one. I couldn't find one. So I said, I'll start one.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, John, I'm going to have you on my other show, The Bible Says What, do a little intro there and promote your book for sure. That's good stuff, man. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Did you find while you were writing the book that it was a very healing experience for you?
Very much so. Very much, rather than had I written about my own
Yeah.
this experience. And I could have made my own experience funny and, just like this, but, fleshed it all out. My thought was, who am I to anybody who'd want to read? It makes sense. There's somebody we know very well, who became a Christian. I think he became a Christian at 18. He became a pastor. We're talking about Dave Warnock and people like that.
Right.
Now, that's a book. I've read his book. That's a book worth reading because there's a lot of flesh on the bones there, right? But I'm so wishy-washy. Went this way, then that way, and then I like I said, I'm reading words from I written when I was 27, 28, and I said I should have just stuck with that.
Right.
I know it sounds interesting in a little podcast like this, but as a book, I don't think it would have worked.
It's such an interesting approach to write in that way, especially
fictional.
I think
I like that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
One more thing I want to add about this is because when I read stories to my son when he was little, I started with the children's books. It bored him. So I said, hey, let's try Animal Farm. It was a success. Let's try Gulliver's Travels. Let's try Alice Through the Looking Glass, Journey to the Center of the Earth. It took a long time to get through these books, but he enjoyed it. And when I thought about how am I going to write this, I thought allegorically, like Animal Farm. That's about communism and the Russian Revolution. But when you read it to a child, it's about talking animals. And how funny is that, right? Gulliver's Travels is about how the British were giving the Irish a hard time. But really, it's about Lilliput and these little people tying him down and stuff, right? So mine is an allegory.
Right.
Same thing. And so you could read it to a child. It's totally safe.
I think it's actually a really good idea. When I was reading the description, I was thinking of reading it to my boy. I have 10 8-year-old and a 3-year-old, but the 10 and 8-year-old, it would almost be
not 10 8-year-olds, a 10
no a 10 and 8-year-old. That would be crazy. My life's already crazy.
Well, maybe some of the words they would stumble over. Maybe some of the words that I use because I use words that are unusual. But I was told that things like and I don't want comparing my work to things like the Lord of the Rings or something, or dare I say even the Harry Potter series. I never read that. I'm not interested. But they use words too, right?
No, I think it's good to use the different words because when you're addressing them as a parent, you can actually look into these words and find meaning, and it teaches the kid. No, I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm writing a compendium
now.
I'm writing a compendium. Nice. Yeah, because I need that resource. I have a document which I go back to. It's an alphabetical order. Every time I make up a word or steal a word or a translation of a word and put meaning behind that word, I add it to that list.
Nice.
Okay.
And so I'm going to write a compendium so that it's a little companion booklet that, I wonder what Kumora is intended. Well, when you get to Kumora and how I describe it and how the people behave and what they believe in, you should be able to tell that those are Mormons. But in case you can't, what is it? These people represent the Mormons. Got it.
There it is. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It could almost, in a way, it's like making me think of like even Narnia too.
Narnia. I love Narnia as a Christian.
But as in the opposite,
grew up with that. Those were the kind of stories I listened to as a kid. The Narnia stories and all that.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah. But like you said, allegorically, it's
it's perfect.
Very.
A question from the chat here is: do coloring books count for your YouTube show?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you've written it and you've done it and you are doing it and yourself, and all that really matters is that you're self-published.
3 coloring books, apparently. Aunt Jer here. John Hudson, I've published 3 coloring books.
Great.
I've actually seen coloring books that, even without words, they're kind of a story throughout.
That's true too.
Pages.
Yeah. I think there's only 2 things that I'm so far in my promo on my channel. I say most genres are acceptable. And what I mean by that, there's only 2 I can think of. Anything to do with hate, that's obvious, right?
Clearly.
And then if it's like too sexually explicit, I mean,
would you have a religion, like a religious author?
I have 2 already.
Bum, bum, bum.
Wow, good for
One is a pastor who's written a book. I have 26 I have 26 people booked already. I'm booking for January into February now.
That's fantastic. Nice job.
And another one is some woman who's constantly, says bless you to me. So
Oh, well,
we'll see how that works out.
that's oh man,
Wow.
that's awesome,
Good for
man.
you.
Yeah.
I don't see another question here, but I do have a question for you though. Question I get asked all the time. I'm just very curious. Why do you hate God? I mean, what's your deal, man?
Yeah, the question's faulty. Obviously, I don't answer faulty questions, sir. You're gonna have to reword that somehow.
Oh man. Well, awesome work, man. Well, thank you for putting it out there and the commending. That's going to be really helpful in the end as well. As far as your favorite author, that was definitely one of my questions too. Do you have a favorite author?
Yeah, I suppose I do. I don't like superlatives, but I will answer that question. I really like Robert Pirsig. I like the Zen and Art of the Motorcycle Maintenance. That was a big, important book for me. And I like Alan Watts as well. Both these people are now passed away. Yeah, Alan Watts. Not Alan Watt. Yeah, that's somebody currently alive. And I think he's a new age guy. Alan Watts.
Alan Watts,
the British philosopher. Zen. Yeah. He inspired me to look into Zen, and I still consider Zen as a way of thinking, not as a religion, but as a way of thinking. Thus, the Buddha behind me.
Yeah.
In that way, looking at the Buddha is not a god. It's not a deity. And some have taken Buddhism in that direction. But in Zen, when you look at the Buddha, you are looking at yourself, your true nature. So, in that kind of woo-woo kind of way, that still comforts me.
It's still fun. There's a lot of fun stuff in there for sure. It's inspirational and encouraging. Humanist Fellowship Assembly. I'm self-published. I wrote a short book of essays on religion and atheism. Would this be okay to be on your show?
Absolutely.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Well, we know
it
who
won't
to get
be
in
until
contact.
you get in contact with me. I'm booking up January. It's going fast. I take 3 bookings a week. I figure I can do that. I'm doing it I'm post-producing it. So it's only a conversation. It won't be live like this. I'm not ready for that yet. I think I'm going to need
you did great.
In order to do it, I think I'll need a producer. So I'm going to pre-record and then package it in Final Cut. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Honestly, the best way to do it. Yeah. Take as many times as you need for that intro.
You wrote a book too, didn't you, Michael?
I did write a book. The
Yes,
Bible
and I've got
says,
that book. Yeah,
and John does have. I knew it. Yes, absolutely. Did you get it on Amazon, or where'd you get it from? Eventually, there.
I forget. I think Amazon, or someplace. It was a bit confusing. It wasn't so easy to find, but I got it for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, there's I get free shipping on Amazon, so I'm always keen. I'm a Prime person. I order.
Who isn't? I mean,
I know.
At Bash
so
Amazon,
if it's not free
I
shipping, I'm going. I'm so used to free shipping.
Right.
I would order some merch from some of my favorite YouTubers, but to ship a cap for $25 is okay.
It's tough, man.
Yeah,
it's tough on both ends, man. I do the same thing. I make the clothes. I ship the books. It gets expensive all in the end.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of one merch for my site. One merch that makes sense to that casual. So tell me about your book. I don't have one here in front of me, but a coffee cup.
Yeah.
So, that'd be good. And even just
tell me about your book. Because the mood is, imagine you're in my living room and we're just having a cup of coffee and you're going to tell me about your book.
I actually have a coffee cup that says "Ask me about my book."
Oh,
my wife got it for me when my book came out. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. I need some help with the merch thing because I don't know. I've been trying to figure out how to do that. I'm sure
Etsy. I mean, if you make it yourself, Etsy's good.
Yeah.
In your own website, but there are a few places where you give money and then they can just make your merch from there.
Yeah.
Who's got that kind of cash laying around, anyways?
I don't have money. No, I'm a senior citizen on fixed income. I only now got a raise because I just turned 65. Before I was living on next to nothing.
Don't you get free coffee too, though? I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to. I can't wait for that free coffee at Denny's or McDonald's or wherever you have to get it from.
I don't know.
Yeah, hard to get doctors to take you seriously though, because they figure, well, my knee doesn't work. You're old. You got an old knee, is what you got.
It happens. It happens.
When you're 25 and go, your knee doesn't work, we better get that working for you. We're going to put you through everything. Because we want you to be a good taxpayer, you know. But now I'm draining the system.
It's past that 45. I think that's it.
That's
man.
right.
I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, man. On the way out. Oh, thanks for joining us today. I think we got a couple more questions here. One more. Nope, that's a private chat. Sorry about that. So, how long have you been an author for? I know you got 1 book out, or 3 books out, you said. How long have you been doing this?
Okay, in 2015, I wrote this tiny little thing. It was, you see this? This is the album cover of that thing that I was doing a remake of. All right, the 2015.
What's it called?
Unfolded and Grown, because our original album was called Unfolding and Growing. So I figured I'm just going to put a little bookend on this thing, really thin. It was to explain why I went from being a guitarist, singer, songwriter to somebody banging on metal and oxygen tanks and satellite dishes and bathtubs and kitchen sinks. And making music out of found objects, which is what I did. And some people thought I'd lost my mind. Like, why are you doing this? Well, that book is kind of going to explain the reason for it. And it was also a test of see what if I can write. And I found out I could. So
it's a fun experiment there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So you still enjoy writing even after all this writing?
Do I enjoy writing? Oh,
yeah.
I enjoy it a lot. In fact, the last musical composition I did was in November 2019. I haven't written any music since then.
Wow.
I'm now doing this like full time. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
In fact, I have I have plans for 3 books that are related to the Kialo, but not going forward, going backward.
Prequels.
Three inspirational people. One is Eldridge Hudson. The other one is called Ekarambara, and the most ancient person is called Turok, who was an ancient artist warrior about 1,000 years before. Ekarambara is about 300 years before, and Eldridge Hudson. All these people are the lineage leading up to Barnabas, leading up to Axel, leading up to everything. I'm not going to go forward. I'm not going to go forward because that would ruin the whole story, but I will go backward.
Totally going Lord of the Rings on it, aren't you? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when's the movie come out?
I was going to ask that.
Well, I do have a connection that I've been, an old friend of mine who's quite successful in Hollywood, who actually does make movies. And,
there you go.
Yeah, so he makes B movies mainly, but
my favorite kind.
Yeah,
Are there any other kind?
Yeah, I need to talk to him because I think that because the way I wrote it too, because of my television experience, I used to call I would speak to myself and go, yeah, I got to work on episode. I mean, chapter 3. It felt like episodes to me,
Right?
Yeah. So
if you need another bald bearded guy, I'm right here, man. I'm ready. I think they got cameras out here in Vegas somewhere. I can just.
I also want to do an audio. I really want to do an audio version of it.
Yes,
that's a great idea.
But there's
who's your ideal person to do it?
Well, I don't have friends.
No, like in theory, like if you could have anybody read your book, who would you want?
In theory, what I would like to do is to make it a dramatic recording. It's with sound effects, and where there's women, there's an actual woman's voice.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I could do it with another woman, with a woman, and I can do all the male voices because I could alter my voice. I took drama. I'm a thespian. And the woman could do the female parts, that would be ideal. And then I could do all the sound effects, put it through Final Cut. Well, I would do it in Logic, of course, at that point. And that would be ideal, but that would be a lot of work. And I got plans to write books. I can't do both. That's too much.
You just got time for that.
I have a life too. I have a wife.
Yeah,
dogs.
What's that like?
It's good. I got renovations yet to do. This house is still not finished.
I never finish, man. The house is never finished. There's always a cabinet falling off somewhere. Oh man. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, one more thing. Got any advice for an inspiring fiction author? I'm trying to write something similar to your Kialo books, but that's basically a spin on the Bible and the start of a fictional religion.
This is what I do. I've joined several Facebook groups talking about being a self-author and stuff like that. And it seems nobody's doing this. I just haven't found anybody. This works for me. I start with writing a synopsis. I say, chapter 1. These are just write it down anyway. Type it in. Doesn't matter. This is not going in the book. This is what chapter 1 should be. These are the things that should happen there. And then that gives you an idea. Okay, chapter 2. Then this is what should happen in chapter 2 until you're finished. And then edit the crap out of your synopsis until your synopsis makes sense. Until the storyline within your synopsis makes sense. So you're going from point A to all the end. And this is how we did it in television. So
that makes sense, though. I love that.
Right? And then start, and then take. All right, I'm going to start writing my first draft. What does my synopsis say for edit chapter 1? That okay? Well, then flesh it all out. Flesh it all out. Just keep typing, and then edit for about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get like 600 pages, and you edit down to 100 at the end.
Yeah, and I'm an editor, so it comes easy to me, but some people have a hard time with editing. So some people have to hire editors. Yeah,
it's a fun
even
process.
If I wanted to, I could. And I have no money, so I have to do it myself. And if you've the person asking that question have already self-published, then you must know about formatting.
Yes.
God, that drove me nuts.
That's the worst part of anything. I don't care if it's an email or a book you're writing. Formatting sucks.
Yeah, that's mathematical.
That's for super
shut down your creative mind and go and just format. So what I do is I pay monthly for I think $8 a month to get Word. I don't have it. I just use the latest version. Always just updates. It's worth the $8 a month because you can format beautifully in there. It's a wonderful program.
It's always best when somebody.
That's my advice. If you want to write fiction. Yeah.
Great advice, though. No, that's really good. The whole synopsis and then working from there. It's smart. Okay. So, final thoughts, John?
Well, this was very comfortable, and yes, it was a lot of fun too. Final thoughts. Well, I think I should get a little more involved in the community. I've been very aloof, and there's been reasons for that. Personal reasons, but I'm gonna try and get a little more involved now that you've seen my face. Some people from the Tang Gang, which I do support, I should just get a little more involved. Yeah, I think I would do all right on a panel or talking about whatever.
Absolutely.
Having a good time and maybe have a little sip of wine too.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, cheers to that. Yeah.
Cheers to my lager.
That's actually vodka. Oh man, Apostacie, thanks for joining me again.
So wonderful. It was so nice to meet you, John.
Nice to meet you too.
Man, guys, this has been a blast. John, I look forward to seeing you in other places as well and around and reading your book.
Yes.
Where can we find that at?
Amazon. Amazon. I have it in all the American, Canadian, all of them. So for you, it would be .com, I guess.
.com.
In Canada, .ca. So, and then look for just a title. It's one of a kind. You'll find it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, John.
All right.
Stacy, again, always fun. You can find Stacy on TikTok. You can find me at thebiblesayswhat.com. I want to thank our patrons for today is Bassthrasher. That's a new one. Kathy Cotton, Cindy Plaza, Bryce, Deborah Grace, Sunny Shell, Aaron Coalson, and Phil Calderone. Thank you, everybody. That's all the show we have for you today. We'll see you next week.
Bye.